you have to hang out with people who are already where you want to be.
Welcome to today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm one of your hosts, David Gilliland. We have the privilege of having Dr. Angela Tran with us, the founder and CEO of MedFit Medical Weight Loss there in the Denver area. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We love talking with entrepreneurs. I mean, we are entrepreneurs, and so we kind of like hanging out with our people. And Angela, tell us just a little bit of your story. Why did you decide to do this? And then how did you get started?
Yeah, so I kind of feel like I have the entrepreneur mutation because the reality is I grew up in a very medical family, and being a doctor was the only thing I had on my mind since the first grade. And as you guys all know, it takes a gajillion years to become a medical doctor. And congratulations, after 12 plus years of training, you become a doctor thinking that it's just like Grey's Anatomy, but not really. So I was a primary care doctor in internal medicine, and I did what I had intended to do, help patients with their health. But the reality of medicine kicked in, writing prescription after prescription, answering phone calls and emails, getting home at 8 p.m. at night only to know you still have charting to do. I was really the true definition of physician burnout. And I can sense that some of our listeners can, relate in that burnout sort of
Yeah.
mode, whether they left a corporate job. And I want to encourage a listener who's sort of on that verge. It is completely worth it to go out on your own because I was experiencing health issues, with just not doing what I thought I would be doing long term. So my naive self decided I want to start a business with zero business background, but was very resourceful. Here in Denver, they have a small business development resource center. I was able to meet up with a counselor, while I was doing my 9 to 5 job, running in the back corner, getting lessons in counseling on starting a business because I wanted to redefine healthcare, and that is prevention. I wanted to really help educate my patients on understanding the basis of nutrition, exercise, mindset, the holistic approach that all of us don't have to be on medications forever. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm more of a doctor today than I ever was back in my primary care job.
Oh, I love that. It's like you decided to move from the bottom of the cliff to the trailhead and say, now, are you sure you want to jump?
Yes.
let's talk, right?
Yes.
And get on that opposite end. Uh, I think that's fantastic. In every entrepreneur, we all see a problem that needs to be fixed,
Yes.
and then you had enough of a push that you didn't like being just part of the kind of I want to say a conveyor belt of leading people to pharmacies and hospitals.
Hmm.
And you're like, wait, we can actually do health care
Yes.
instead of just health repair.
Yes.
So that's exciting, Dr. Angela. Thank you again for sharing just a little bit of that. Now, it wasn't easy. You built some things. You worked up to some stuff. You passed that $1 million mark, which there's probably only 5% of companies in the US who get there. So congratulations, first
Thank
of all.
you. Yes, I appreciate it. It's a formula, and it takes a lot of persistence and continuous education. But I do feel very fortunate in equating the impact that I'm able to create through my business, not just
Yeah.
passing a milestone.
Yeah. Not just a revenue, but the change that's happening,
Yes.
a purpose beyond just profits. Um, Tell me a little bit about some of the insights you've gained now that you've passed that mark, though, and you're having that much influence on people. What has made a difference for you, for your team, that you've learned? You're like, this has really helped us succeed now where we're at.
Yeah, the most important thing is I was smart enough to know that I didn't know anything.
Not just not and not everything, but I didn't know anything.
Yes, yes. And the important lesson is you have to hang out with people who are already where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that includes obviously a coach who is operating at that 7 figure, 8+ figure level. Um, Also, hanging out with a circle of friends, association of people who are playing at that. I think entrepreneurs have heard the phrase, if you're not the dumbest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that also includes when it comes to hiring consultants. I really fully believe that if they're not playing in the playground or arena at that level, there is a distinction on the rate and length of success that you can have in your business. I think that's one of the most important things that all the listeners need to know.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it's it it's such a breath of fresh air. I mean, we're hearing this from a doctor, and nothing personal here. I mean, we're us non-doctor people. We sometimes feel like, man, doctors kind of have a god complex. They seem to think they know everything, and sometimes they shut the people around. But that's not what's coming off of you at all. You're
Yeah,
this
that's
hungry
why
to learn person, right?
that's why I said I have a mutation. I agree with you. There's a reason why I don't partner with other doctors, no offense, but they're very square and scientific. I'll be honest with you, through the years, I did start off as a quote, a doctor, but now I'm actually more of a business mindset person and probably only 10% doctor. I'm fortunate that helping people lose weight really is the absolute easiest thing I will ever do. I can do that with my eyes closed. Honestly, it is now the pursuit, the challenge, the love, the stubbornness and persistence of running a business that I appreciate. But you're absolutely right. I did not get that from medical school.
No, but what you have is the gem for the rest of us too. Sometimes, and we've all heard it, but sometimes we get caught in a place where we're just running the day to day, and it's almost running us into the ground. Just like you were talking about in the medical when you were a doctor only, uh,
Yes.
our own businesses can feel like that at times, and we can start to forget as we just start putting fires out or caring for another customer or dealing with another employee and feeling like everyone's coming to us for answers. And it's kind of nice to feel
Mhm.
like we have those answers for a while, and then that kind of nice, it's kind of like our drug, where
Yes.
we feel good, like we're super, we're superhuman now, we're solving the problems. And
Yes.
that's pretty much our downfall. That's our undoing, right? When we
Yes.
start thinking we do have the answers,
Hmm.
it stops us from growth. So, what a key takeaway. Thank you.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
what have you done to find those people that are a step or two ahead of you and surround yourself with them?
Yeah, I have a coach that I met way back in 2015 before all the fun things that are
Hmm.
available today, such as Facebook Live and podcasts and things like that. And I just knew that I needed someone who could lead me. That was really the simple, sort of sign sent to the universe. And I connected, just like with any, other method, just through a Facebook ad, had a consultation with her. And really, I love the story is because I knew nothing, I went into that call saying, just tell me what to do. I'll shut my mouth and do it. I think that
Hmm.
was the key. I mean, she's a great coach, but I'm telling you, your real success is not so much the magical formula, it's your ability to put aside what you learned in the past, because that obviously wasn't
Yeah.
working, and commit. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even have the money for the first deposit. I literally just closed my eyes. She already taught me, well, do the math. And I said, well, gosh, I need to sign up two people over the next 30 days to pay the first month. That's it. That's all I focused on. And she gave me, a list of things to do. I had to be on video. I was very uncomfortable with that, and all of these things that just stretch you, right? And then fortunately, 90 days we doubled, and we almost doubled again by the end of the year, and off to seven figures we go. And I still am close to that because I truly say you have to have such an open blank mind, and then just make sure that coach is playing where you want to be. And if their values align, then it's a direct match.
Yeah. Uh, it, it was the last thing you said. I want to focus in for the group a little bit as we are all listening. Uh, if you find a very brilliant coach who has a perfect plan on how to move things forward, and really it would move your business forward, but the values match is off, you'll actually hate the journey. And
Yes,
I love that you pin that in there. You're like, you got to have the values match. When
yes,
that is on, then their advice is in line with some of the core things who you are that aren't going to change. We're not saying how you do things, but the who you are, and really how you frame the world. If they're off from that, you kind of feel like you have to take two or three showers every day to just feel good, running the business plan that they have that's not in line with your
sure.
own moral compass, right?
Yes. And I would
So
extend that. I have that philosophy with anybody I associate with now with the business, whether it is hiring team members
yeah,
to vendors, consultants, collaborators, everybody. So important that everybody is on the same alignment as far as values. And in fact, we took it one step where we actually have a document. So all team members are very well aware of what we stand by because it's part of our branding and just our mission. And that's just part of the success that often business owners tend to neglect.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And it's one of the key things when you're going to shift gears at this stage. We talk about seven-figure business owner as though, oh, you've arrived. No, you haven't. All that means is you got to a point that the old formula just expired. The old formula for success isn't the right one
Yes.
anymore. And
Yes.
or another metaphor, if you're riding your bike, you were in third gear or something to get you to this point. If you don't go to fourth gear right now, you're just going to burn out that engine or burn out your legs. If you're on a bike, whatever it is, I mean, you're just going to burn out. And it requires shifting gears again so the same energy can get 3x the output that it used
Yes.
to. So
Yes.
I I love that, and the defining the values is one of those pieces. And then, of course, defining the purpose and then the clear mission of here's what we're going to execute. This many people that we're going to free from the health challenges of excess weight, right? Like
Yes.
we're gonna free 10,000 people by the end of 2027. Here's our mission, and that's big
Yes.
because we're not doing anywhere near 10,000, right? But we're gonna have to do all sorts of stuff, and that kind of driving mission. Those three things together, is purpose, his values, and mission, to get that ultra clear, it just becomes vital. Now every team member's behind it. They can all start acting and thinking like business owners. In line with what we want. And it's a first step in that shift. So I love that you've identified that and shared that with the group. So thank you so much.
Yes. No, that's great. I loved how you outlined it. You're absolutely right. Values, mission, and purpose. And I'll let everyone know the fuel that drives those three is your ability to grow personally.
Yeah.
So your business can only expand to the level of who you are as a being. And you can outline everything on paper, but if you have your limiting beliefs, still being rigid in, what you learn or what you try, business isn't going anywhere no matter how picture perfect your mission and purpose. I think people forget that you can't just know your why, you got to elevate yourself, and it never ends,
Yeah. That's
right?
right. That's right.
Always going.
The great leader and co founder of our organization, Clayton Mask, he said, I'm not the leader my team needs 6 months from now, but I'll
Yes.
be there when the time's needed. Like I'm working now. So today he's always working to become the leader they need 6 months from now, to become the leader they need a year from now, right? And just pushing and pushing. And yeah, it is a reflection of our own growth. And if we don't get there, we'll grow. All the revenues, all the marks will look right, and we will sink back again.
Hmm.
It will expand and will contract. We'll expand and we'll contract. And that's a sign that either we haven't gotten to that point or we haven't allowed our organization to follow and come to that point either, right? Sticking with old processes and systems, old ways of bringing people on and thinking about the strategic progress together. We often are the bottleneck for the growth. We've held on to some things that we need to let go of. So,
Oh,
yeah, I love that.
100%.
Okay, you've shared some great nuggets. Let's shift a little bit. You're you're now in new growth mode, right? You're obvious
Yes.
and intentional about growing and becoming. Tell me the
Call it.
tell me the latest challenges and things that you're focusing on, that you're trying to say, how can I do this better? And a little pre-call. I understand there may be some things there on how do I build that team? Where do I go with
Hmm.
this? How do I get all of them working on the right stuff at the right time? There were some hints at that. Tell us a little more. What's a challenge we can really dive into together?
Yeah, so, as a time of this recording, it's 2024. All of us business owners know that the buyer's mentality has changed. The economy has been affected. There's just so many changes, more so compared to the previous, even, a year ago. And that means that if you want to continue to last, more than 10 years, 20 years in your business, you're constantly needing to pivot. And our challenge is understanding that we continue to need to lean on building trust with our audience because there's a lot more skepticism. Buyers don't buy like they used to. You can't, use the one trick pony that's always out there. You got to look at foundational principles now, which is, what does your brand stand for? You are going to need to develop patience in having more of a time frame to develop trust. And rather than focusing so much on the audience, what we've really turned is more inwards. What is our infrastructure, systems, processes? How do we take care of our current patients? And that's really going to help us navigate through, some of the unknown waters that we're seeing, today with just how businesses have changed. It doesn't matter whether I'm a small business or if you're a corporate like, Amazon or Tesla laying off, thousands of people. It doesn't matter. There's a big shift, and recognizing your pivots is going to keep you standing.
Nice. So, uh, if you were to say briefly, what's the question you most want to talk about?
Yeah, so developing more of that personal brand. What are the key sort of factors to really differentiate yourself in this changing marketing economy so that we can, take our business to the next level while there are other businesses that, don't know what they're doing just because they're not recognizing how different it is in today's market.
Yeah. So, if this becomes your strategic priority of what your business focus on over the next little while, um,
Hmm.
the question isn't always what's the right answer. Now, I loved how you were leaning into it already, and you were saying, is there a system or process we could put in place to ensure that every time there are changes in the market, that we have the
Yes.
capability to identify, to get clarity around, and then to pivot? Do we have a process of working on what our business needs to be 6 months from now, a year from now, and doing it now? and be able to, as a team, collectively pivot. And like, you use the term, this brand, the personal brand, the business brand. What is the promise in the eyes of our ideal customers that we are making and keeping? How do they really
Right.
see us? And and that can't all be on Dr. Angela's shoulders. It's every single employee. And so everyone has to
Yes.
shift and move together, and all the processes have to follow it. And it's like, oh my goodness, there's so much change. How am I going to keep up with this, right? um, the
Yes.
speed of change is increasing, and our ability to adapt is key. So what a great question. Let's play with it a little bit. What process do you use today to get your whole team thinking strategically about what has shifted, and getting them engaged in thinking about, of all the changes, what's the most important one we need to address?
That's a great question. I mean, one of our top of mind points we are working on is just the customer
Yeah.
journey from the absolute moment that they are exposed to us, whether it is a website visit, social media, seeing me on TV. But the importance is, how do we give them top level service from the beginning? And they may not even be a customer. The importance of really outlining, just creating that trust perception, and then it goes down to the very minute details. You can imagine this whiteboard with all
Yeah.
these, algorithms of what happens with this person. And so we've really dedicated a lot of time to understand, I think the phrase is called indoctrination. That's what the verbiage of, like, okay, how are we going to capture these people at the top of the funnel, but really take care of them into the moment that they become a customer. Then the back end is just like, how do we keep them going, as far as retention? So it's a big picture. I wish we had all the time to talk about the details,
Yeah.
but um, just walking through that one customer and really recognizing the stages that they're through, and giving them our absolute best in terms of systems and processes, so that we can replicate it with each customer that comes
Yeah.
through our
Well,
business.
I've got some coming to mind right now, and I'm just going to throw a little bone to him. An extended member of our community we've been engaged with a long time, and has helped many members in our own customer group and our membership, as we call them. His name's Brad Martineau, and you could look up plus this. And he thinks about, with clarity and simplicity, the experience, that the sales experience, yes, the buying experience,
Yes,
yes, the delivery experience, yes, the retention, the experience, and how to simplify
yes.
that into clean processes, and then use any tools or such that can help support that. But to understand strategically how to win first, he might be a good one to look up. Uh,
Oh, thank you. I would jump in on that resource right away.
so again, Brad Martineau plus this is one of his businesses. He has a few that he runs, but bright individual. We had him presenting to our group just in February, and we bring together some 30, 50 different businesses to come and share ideas and learn and grow. And Brad's a genius in this space. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Um, Now
Absolutely.
let's dive into the process, though, because what I like to say is, not just because today you're thinking customer experience and the brand promise. Tomorrow, it might be a different question altogether. Tomorrow, it may be a key strategic partnership that has to be set up and aligned, and a new system put in place on that. Or it could be in the future, right? It just keeps changing. Uh,
Yes.
how do we change our entire pricing model in a way that we could incorporate a very different audience than we were thinking before? So there's just like, everything's going to be shifting. So let's talk about a process to watch those shifts. Uh, we believe that there's power in getting everyone on your team who wants to and is doing their day job well
Yes.
to be part of the strategic thinking or planning of your business. Now, that's big because you're like, wait, I got line employees. Some of the listeners like, right, I got concrete guys finishing concrete on curb and
Yes.
gutter. I know, but hear me out, right? Uh, we're only as strong as our team is.
Yes.
If we think that building the company, and to quote to you, that it's the business only grows as much as you can grow personally, it's a compounding effect. It's the same. The business only grows as much as your team grows and as strong as they are.
Yes.
They're the closest to the customer touch than anyone else. They are on the phones with them. They're hearing, they're seeing. They're the ones who are in the processes. They're the ones who decide if the processes are followed or not. Right? And
Yes.
so all of this is kind of going on, right? So we pull them in, and first it's more like education, and then later they start to contribute a ton. But it looks like contribution from the beginning, but you'll see the contribution grows as they do this more. But if you can take some time every quarter, every 3 months, to step out of the business with whatever key team members that you can afford to have out with you, and that
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that are just really great values matches with you. I mean, you rely on them. Those at your size, I'd
Yes.
say those 3 people probably total. It could be 4,
Sure.
but you're going to have a
Sure.
few of you together, and every quarter to take them through an exercise of looking at the outside environment. Here is everything touching
Mm-hmm.
us and everything touching our customers that we need to be watching.
Yes.
And we'll look at, I'll use a simple SWOT analysis can be useful in that process. So your strengths and weaknesses, that's an internal look. But then the
Mm-hmm.
external scanning are these opportunities and threats. Now,
Yes. Yes.
and then to walk the people through this and to say, how can I get my team to start noticing these tech changes are changing the way people think about their healthcare? We're going
Mm-hmm.
to need to be in those places where they are when they're thinking about healthcare, right? That's that first initial touch. Or
Yes.
or these economic factors are changing buying behaviors behind that. Or these demographic shifts are informing how we need to speak to and meet our customers. Or these, right? And so kind of go through what are key areas, but not just for our business, but for our customers also, that are affecting them, and kind of do the exercise for both pieces and say, what really are the opportunities and threats? And when your team gets better and better at seeing these, what just happened is for the first time in 3 months, they took a breath and they stopped looking at how to process this account. And they started thinking about,
Yes.
why are people doing what they're doing and continuing to come to work with us? And that's powerful. Now,
Yes.
they start to get a little brighter and smarter about it. And then from that, we're going to tease out, okay, we found lots of stuff and we've got some weaknesses and we've got some strengths that we could really leverage.
Yes.
Boy, if I could only pick 2 or 3 things that if we solved those, we would be off to the races. We would help those 10,000 people experience a fuller life
Yes.
by managing the problems that come with excess weight, right? Or whatever. I don't know what your mission is, but that's what we would do,
Absolutely.
right? And so they list theirs out. And the key thing is, Angela, don't share first. You make sure every one of your team's sharing. And we get them
Sure.
up there and we
Yep.
start bringing the ideas together and we see what matters most to them. And we don't discount them, because some of the thinking, you're gonna be like, okay, that was very much within their own role thinking. They weren't really thinking about the business yet. That's okay. It was a start. They started dreaming about what if we could do this better? What if we remove some barriers?
Yes.
What if you get more people thinking that way together? Then we start to narrow down, and your ideas are now up on the board with theirs. And we say, okay, let's win at this one this quarter. We may not be able to tackle the whole thing. Maybe this year is the entire customer experience. Fantastic. From beginning to end, full life cycle. But this quarter, we're just going to do one of those, right? We're going to do
Yes.
a third, a third, a third, and then the fourth one, we're going to put the systems in that support it, right? And so, but still, if that's what the people all chose, your team chose it, And then we start
Hmm.
building a like really detailed project management around that, given the time that everybody has because they're running their day jobs still. So there's a
Sure.
handful of key people. It may be all of your team members on this first one, different pieces. Some of them are only going to do an hour a week on it. That's it. But it's an hour a week more than ever would have been done in the past for that topic. Right.
Yes.
And so you're intentionally working through. Can you imagine how easy the implementation of this new system and process will be? Because
Oh,
the
absolutely.
team came up with it, the team helped build it, the team was in charge of doing it. They got to work with Dr. Angela on the big stuff, not just run my day job.
Yes.
I matter. My ideas matter.
Yes.
I'm growing. The ceiling's being lifted, right? And they're starting to think. That's building a team that will be able to pivot with you over and over and over again. It's one of the keys. It's not just the right ideas, it's can we get the team who can see it with us, can build it with us, can celebrate in the execution of it. And so there's a first level thought. Now give me your response. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah.
How would you pull this off, and what's dumb about these ideas so we can talk about them back and forth?
No, no. So insightful. I really appreciate this conversation because you are correct. It is all about collaboration. And at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
we, not me. I love that you said, I matter. And the reality is that while, yes, everybody, needs financial means to pay their bills and things like that. But yeah, the reality is my team is motivated by growth and
Yeah.
contribution. And sometimes it feels like we're in the Titanic in the bottom deck, and nobody can see out up front what's going on. And that's why a lot of businesses just burn out, is because they're just not looking at the right things. And to invite them to go to the upper deck and say, okay, let's have a conversation together and create that direction collectively. I just love how you are absolutely right. Um, getting the right team members on board, but also retaining team
Yeah.
members is part of the key to a longer term success for a business.
One of the drivers for us as entrepreneurs is we're getting to create the very thing, right? And
Mhm.
when we're creating, we are artists. It is ours. We have full ownership. We care about it, right? It's like our baby. Well, let's let them co-create. That's what I'll use instead of like a collaboration, but like, no, we're co-creating. We're going to co-create the future, and they begin to own it, and they begin to care. Now when they're like in the shower, random thoughts going on, they're actually thinking about solving some of your business issues because it's our business issue now, right? uh,
Yes.
it doesn't require as much ownership handover as it does trust and allowing people to truly
Sure.
create, honoring them through it. Not saying you can't share ownership. That's
Yes.
another discussion for another day. uh, What are some of the challenges you see in implementing something like that? Any thoughts? You're like, oh, but that could be difficult. Or I wonder how this runs. Ask some questions. Let's see if we spend another couple minutes on this.
Yeah, I admit that I think you brought up a good point about trusting each other. And, I have amazing team members, but we're all
Mm,
doers. And we still kind of get stuck in the mentality, well, if it gets done, it needs to be done right. And that usually is me. And we often forget to, you know, understand and trust other team members to follow through, be held accountable, and allow them to step
yeah.
up and co create with us. So that's something that's when you have, like, you do tend to have top A players, which I'm very fortunate, but we became top A players because we started out as doers. We just check box, done, done, done
Yeah.
producers. And to get out of producing more of the thinking, and then this, I call it the relay team. There's such an art of handing off a baton from one team member to another, but requires a lot of trust involved, and just allowing everybody to, sort of stay in their genius zone, so to speak. and that way we're all operating,
Yeah.
collectively, rather than almost doing each other's job, which is sort of sometimes what it feels
Yeah.
like.
It can be challenging. It can be challenging to see are people are doing their jobs right first before I start, because
Hmm.
the doer matters. We need more doers than anything, but at times we need architects and builders. Okay, so think
Hmm.
who's architecting this, who's building this, and then we're doers. And they may be the same people
Yes.
at different times, especially at this size. But I I tend to not trust, and I could be wrong about this, but I tend to not trust people to architect and build until they are delivering in their doing. So I get clarity around their
Yes.
role together. But here are the three things that matter that you deliver in your role. And if you're delivering there and you're delivering there well, you've earned some trust. At that point, I see additional opportunity. I'm going to invite you to architect and build with me just a little bit. It doesn't require a promotion, it just requires to be a part of a set meeting rhythm where we're outlining a plan, right? We've identified that quarterly was picking the thing. Then we're architecting and putting together what the Gantt chart looks like of this project rolling out,
Yes.
right? So then we're there architecting what the solution's going to look like, and then they get to be part of building. And every 2 weeks, they're going to come together and they're going to know, oh, here's what I was supposed to take care of. I owned these subtopics. I call them the SMART goals that build to that priority. I own this. And every 2 weeks, I have a chance to account for the great things I've done, or to
Yes.
let people know, here's where I'm stuck. I could use some help and insights. Little touches that 4 or 5 people doing those little touches, a lot gets done in a very short amount of time.
Hmm.
And what's really happening is I'm kind of teaching myself to trust them with bigger things. It's
Yes.
not just them and their confidence, it's me. It's me and getting out of the way. Okay, so we're intentionally
Yep.
doing both sides through the process. Now I know this sounds like maybe it's
Hmm.
like touchy feely or whatever, different things. But these are the core hardcore systems that need to be followed
Yep.
if you're going to build a team that has a deep trust in each other because they've earned it, and because we extended first. We believe trust is built by
Hmm.
being the first to extend, and then the person can accept. And we extend just a little beyond where they're comfortable today. So they're stepping up just a little bit, just a little bit. Then later, when I need a whole department led, those 4 people are right on my top of my list. They proved that they can do stuff. They proved they can architect with me and they can build with me, right? And
Yes.
trust is built. So anyway, I think we
Absolutely.
could jam out on this
Yes.
all day, but the time is running short. So and that really wraps up today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. But Dr. Angela, how do people get in touch with you if they want to learn from and with, or if they want to access some of the great services you have to live a healthier life, to um, not be met at the bottom of the cliff after they've fallen over it, but instead to be healthy from the beginning of the hike?
Sure. No, I invite all the listeners to go to my website at medfitmedicalweightloss.com. And you can also find me on social media. And I understand, I've been in business, for over 10 years, but I still remember what it was like to be a beginner, in the middle, and then at my stage. So entrepreneurship often feels lonely. And, just reach out. I enjoy having these kind of conversations. I feel like you said, just because I'm at this level doesn't mean the problems go away. They're just in bigger size and difference, but it's just a mindset
Yeah,
shift, and it's just important for the listeners to, again, like I said before, hang out with people who are playing where you want to be, and that will be one of the fastest ways to grow your
I love
business.
that. Thank you again. This podcast is where we explore the ins and outs of the 7 figure journey. Angela, thank you for being a guest on the show today. We loved having you. And for all of you listening in, I hope you'll share, like, do all the things that make this episode more available to all the other 7 figure business owners out there. So keep striving, keep learning, keep caring and keep pushing towards your goals. Until next time.